الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال لن أرسله معكم حتى تؤتون موثقا من الله لتأتونني به إلا أن يحاط بكم فلما آتوا موثقهم قال الله على ما نقول وكيل وقال يا بني لا تدخلوا من باب واحد وادخلوا من أبواب متفرقة وما أغني عنكم من الله من شيء إن الحكم إلا لله عليه توكلت وعليه فليتوكل المتوكلون صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders and honorable, my dear young friends, just to do a quick recap of the story and the tale of Yusuf salam and where we had reached since we've had a few weeks of break in between. The last thing that we discussed and we talked about was the journey the brothers took to Egypt to get and fetch some grains back. And they went there and Yusuf salam received them with great generosity and he gave them much attention. And known to them was that it was their brother Yusuf salam. Yusuf salam on the other hand realized, these are my brothers. Anyway, he told them before he left, he took a small interview of them and he mentioned to them that next time you come, make sure you bring your small brother with you. The brothers came back happily with all the grains, and as they entered, they told their father that we have been received very well, we've been given so much attention, good hospitality, and all this grain that you see before you. And whilst they were unpacking their goods, they also mentioned that if you need more grain going forward, when we run out again and stocks start to get low and we are in need of more corn and wheat, etc., then the king has told us that we cannot go to him unless we take Binyamin with us. And if you don't take him, then that means that everything that we have said to him is a lie. For us to prove ourselves as we are as truthful, that we are the sons of the Prophet, and one of our brother got lost, and we've got another brother at home. The only way to prove this is we can't take Yaqub salam, our father, because he's old. So he told us to bring Binyamin. So anyway, then they start unpacking the corn and the goods from the camel loads. And whilst they were unpacking, they realized that Yusuf salam had quietly, discreetly put back their funds. When they went to get the grains, they had to pay something. And Sahib al-Jalalain mentioned that they paid some dirham, some silver coins. So that bag that they gave of silver coins were found back in the goods. So they became so happy. And ma nabghi, hadi bida'atuna uddat ilayna. Ya Abana, ma nabghi. They exclaimed, oh my father, what more do you want? We've got grain, we've got food, we've got good hospitality. And on top of that, we've also got back the funds that we paid for it. So what more do we want? We only want you to send Binyamin with us. So they were trying to convince the father, and that's where we stopped off. And Yaqub rebuked them and reproached them that, do you want me to send my son Binyamin and you are going to protect him like you done before, like you done with Yusuf? You told me the same story that you're going to protect him and he disappeared, never to be seen. But is that why you want to take Binyamin as well? So anyway, they tried to persuade their father and they tried to make him understand and convince him. Yaqub salam realized that there's two things. That on one side, if I withheld Binyamin and I don't let him go, and that means when the sons, the other 10 brothers, will go to the palace to Yusuf salam, straight away he said, I will buy you. So that means they will come empty-handed. So on one side, I can withheld Binyamin, and that way he is safeguarded. Or the other side is, I take the risk and I send him. And at least we get the grain. So that's why the question that arises is, was it even permissible to send Binyamin knowing that Yusuf salam was left and he was made to disappear? So the father knowing that my sons have already done this before, can he send them again? So Mufassirin say That the answer to this is that sending Binyamin, releasing Binyamin and sending him with the brothers, this is called Darar Mutawaham. Darar Mutawaham means a harm where there is a possibility, it's not guaranteed. Possible harm. There's a chance that Binyamin goes and he comes back absolutely perfect. He goes and they look after him and they don't plot anything against him, they bring him back. So in fact, there was no harm. And the other side is they go and they lose him. So because it's not guaranteed, that is called Darar Mutawaham. So on one side, releasing Binyamin was Darar Mutawaham. And on this side, if he doesn't let Binyamin go, then the king has said, I will not give you any grains. That means if he does not give any grains, they will come back empty-handed. When they come empty-handed, your life depends on food. You don't have food, that means starvation is going to come. And that means your life is at risk. And this is Darar Mutayaqqad. This is guaranteed harm. If you don't send Binyamin, then there is harm guaranteed awaiting you. So when you weigh the two things up, what do you have to do? You leave the Darar Mutawaham, those that is a possibility against that which is definite. So on that basis, Yaqub salam became convinced to send him. But before he sent him, he said, قَالَ لَنْ أُرْسِلَهُ مَعَكُمْ. Yaqub salam said, لَنْ أُرْسِلَهُ. This is ta'qeed. I shall never send him with you. حَتَّى تُؤْتُونِ مَوْثِقًا. Until you give me a solemn pledge, until you give me a firm pledge, until you give me a firm oath. What oath? موثقا من الله لتأتونني به إلا يحاط بكم. لتأتونني به, that you will definitely return with him. لتأتونني به إلا يحاط بكم, unless you are surrounded, unless such circumstances arise and are beyond your control that you cannot do anything and Binyamin is left behind. So he said this, قال إن أرسل معكم حتى تؤتوني موثقا من الله لتأتونني به إلا يحاط بكم. فلما آتوا موثقهم, when they gave their firm oath, فلما آتوا, when the brothers gave their firm oath, قال الله على ما نقول وكيل. Yaqub said, قال Allah, he said, Allah على ما نقول وكيل is watching over what we are saying. So now if you imagine, Yaqub is in a crisis. He's got on one side, he's got his beloved son and Binyamin, and at the same time he's getting flashbacks that they're asking to take Binyamin, and they said, we are muhafidin of him. But then they said this years ago, 40 years ago, about Yusuf, they said the same sentence. Could I really trust him? So they're in a crisis. That should we send him? And you can imagine what a father would go through. That's why Abu Hassan Nadwi used to say that in his Qasr Nabiin, that وَكَانَ يَعْقُوبُ فِي صَدْرِهِ قَلْبٌ لَا قِطَةُ حَجَرٍ. Yaqub was a human. وَكَانَ فِي صَدْرِهِ قَلْبٌ. He had a heart in his chest. He had flesh in his chest, not a stone. He had emotions, he had feelings like every individual, every person that has feelings. He was a human, he was a Nabi, although he's a Nabi, that doesn't exempt him, that does not keep him empty of emotions. In fact, he had emotions. So you can imagine on one side, he's got this clash of emotions. That do I send my son Binyamin? What if they don't bring him back like they did to Yusuf? And on the other side, he's got this, that if I don't send them, then we might not get the grains. So he took a pledge from them. That give me a firm pledge. Tell me firmly that you will try your best to bring him back, unless there are unforeseen circumstances, that he dies on the way, or something happens and the king surrounds you and he captures all of you and you're put in prison. Then nobody can come back. But Yaqub said that you should bring him back unless this thing happened. Besides this, you should not do any form of negligence. You should not plot. You should not have any sinister plans that you've done before. So when they said yes, when they accepted that, لَتَأْتُنَّنِي بِهِ لَا يُحَاطَ بِكُمْ فَلَمَّا آتَوْا مَوْثِقَهُم, when they gave their pledge that, oh Father, by Allah, فَلَمَّا آتَوْا مَوْثِقَهُم, we will give a firm pledge, we will look after him, we will protect him, we will make sure we keep a gaze on him, and we will make sure we bring him back. Then straight away Yaqub said, قَالَ اللَّهُ عَلَى مَا نَقُولُ وَكِيلٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watchful over whatever we say. And this was the way of the pious. That whenever they would conclude their dialogues, whenever they would complete their conversations, then they were always conscious about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They had always the feeling of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching over them. And we see this in the 19th parah as well, Ghaliban, that when Musa went to Madian, and Shu'aib daughters were trying to take out water, and there was a heavy plate over the well, and Musa single-handedly, which usually takes so many people to take off, he took it off himself. So they went home and they told their father. We've seen a person, and he's very strong, and at the same time he's very trustworthy. Because when he walked home, he walked in front, Musa was at the front, and the daughters were behind walking, so that his gazes don't fall on them. So when they saw this, they went back and they told their father that we have seen two exemplary qualities inside him. Number one, he's got the strength, he can work, and number two, he's trustworthy. Shu'aib decided to get one of his daughters married to him. So he for the dowry, for the mahr, he told Musa that the mahr is, you work for me. For how many years? For 8 years, and if you want, you can complete 10 years. You can do it out of your generosity on your behalf, you can finish 10 years. And when this marriage was fixed, and when the whole contract was concluded, then Shu'aib said, Wallahu ala ma naqulu wakil, Allah is watchful over what we have just said. And this is something that we should also have in our lives, that Allah is watching us, Allah is with us wherever we go. Allah is watching us. That's why there was a person by the name of Sidat Saheb rahmatullah, a great buzrug, a very pious person. And he became, in his young age, he used to fast for days upon days, became Hafiz at a very young age. And his beginning started when his father, his uncle, he used to stay in the same house. His uncle used to say, Ya Sahel, oh Sahel, are you not going to remember Allah? So he goes, how do I remember Allah? So he goes, at night, before you go to sleep, say to yourself, Allahu nazim ilayya, Allahu ma'i, Allahu nazim ilayya, Allahu shahidi. Allah is with me, Allah is watching me, Allah is my guardian. How do you say it? Say it 3 times and ponder upon what you're saying. And tell me what happens. 5 days passed, 6 days passed, 7 days passed. After 7, 8 days, he asked him, what's your halat? Because I'm doing it every day. He was now increased that 3 to 7. Before you go to sleep, say it, Allahu ma'i, Allahu nazim, Allahu shahidi. Allah is with me, Allah is watching me, Allah is witness over what I'm doing. Few more days passed, a month, 2 months. And he asked him, how are you feeling? He said, now say it without using your tongue. Say it with your heart. So he's saying that with his heart, so he's picturing it. Allah. A time came that after that, when he realized that this message that Allah is watching me, Allah is witness over me, Allah is my guardian, has settled in his heart. He called him and he said, Ya Sahel, oh Sahel, could you disobey Allah when He is with you, He is watching you, and He is a witness over you? He said, that's it. That was his upbringing. And this upbringing was such that this person now, he's got Allah's thought, Allah's feeling over him all the time. And I sometimes say to my students in madrasa that when we grew up, what was the thing that we were told us? Kutru, dog. Even at the age of 40, we walk in the car booth and we see a dog, we will jump. Whether you're 40 or you're 35 or you're 10. Because it's been put into us that dog will harm you. Imagine somebody told their son, Allah Nabi, Allah Shahid, Allah is watching, Allah is watching, Allah is watching. Wherever he goes in the world, you don't need to be there. Allah will be sufficient for him. Allah will be sufficient for him that he will always have. Whether he's in university, whether he's working abroad, whether he's married life or single life, if he adopts this consciousness, he'll be safe, inshallah. That's why Yaqub took this place from him. At the end he said this, that on the journey, even if in case shaitan comes and whispers, and straight away they remember the last thing my father said, Wallahu ala ma naqulu wakil, Allah is witness over us, we can't do this. Allah is watching, we can't do this. Allah is watching us, we can't do this. Then Yaqub goes on to say, وَقَالَ يَا بَنِيَّ لَا تَدْخُلُوا مِنْ بَابٍ وَاحِدٍ وَدْخُلُوا مِنْ أَبْوَابٍ مُتَفَرِّقَةٍ. Yaqub says to his sons, وَقَالَ يَا بَنِيَّ, O my beloved sons, لَا تَدْخُلُوا مِنْ بَابٍ وَاحِدٍ. Don't enter from one door. Don't enter the city from one door. Don't go through one gate. وَدْخُلُوا مِنْ أَبْوَابٍ مُتَفَرِّقَةٍ. In fact, enter the city from different doors. When you go in the presence of the king, whether it's his palace or the city, go from different doors. وَمَا أُغْنِيَنْكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. This, what I'm telling you, is a precautionary measure. It's a tadbir. It's something we're trying to do, precautionary measure. But in reality, وَمَا أُغْنِيَنْكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. That I cannot benefit you against the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا أُغْنِيَنْكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. I have told you to carry this out. But if some harm is waiting for you, me giving you this advice cannot stop Allah's taqdeer. Whatever Allah's decree will happen. In hukmu illa illah. Because the absolute decision is of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. alayhi tawakkaltu wa alayhi falyatawakkalul mutawakkilun. And only on him do I rely, And all those who put their reliance on anybody should rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all those who put their reliance should rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now you can imagine, Yaqub salam is bidding their children farewell. And Mufassirin say that, look at the advice he gave. Out of love for the children, this shows that his heart was so clean. The same brothers that caused Yusuf to disappear, the same brothers that put Yaqub through so much inconvenience, so much trouble, so much pain, so much agony. Today when these same sons are going away, he's giving some very, very valuable piece of advice. Why? Because he loves them. A father, no matter what the children do, the love in the parents will always remain and will always be aghlab, will be ghalib than the children. Our children, we don't say children don't love their parents. Children do love their parents. But the love the parents have for the children is far more. That's why I remember once reading somewhere that some buzurg was asked that the son is from the parents. So why is it the parents have more love, more feelings for the son than the son or the children have for the parents? The buzurg said, if I was to slice off a piece of meat from my thigh, will the pain be in the piece of meat or will the pain be on my thigh? Where will the pain be? On the thigh. Similarly, the father and the parents of the asad, they're the thighs. The children are flesh from it, they are piece from it. That's why, yes, when you cut it, there'll be a bit of pain on both sides. When it's severe, the pain will be here, not on the flesh. That's why parents sometimes, bichara, out of sadness, again, they say things. And children feel, why, you're always on me, you're on my case. No, they love you too much. Their love overcomes them. That's why they cannot see you going into a wrong place. They cannot see you doing something harmful. But humans become so selfish, he's not bothered by anybody. He's not bothered if his mom has to stay awake all night crying for him, or the father falls in depression. As long as I'm living my life, as long as I fulfill my passions, I'm happy. So Mufassirin say, look, Yaqub was salam leaving. They're leaving and he gives them good advice. He says to them that don't enter through one door. In fact, enter from different doors. And why? So Mufassirin say that in them days, a city was not like Blackburn. There were cities and they had walls around them. Guards at night, they would close the gates. All the city was safe. So each city had doors depending on how big the city was. A big city had 10 doors maybe, because if it's a big city, and if he only has one door, then people coming from there have to go all the way around to come from here. So there'll be doors, easy access for everybody. At night, they will close the doors. They say the city that Yusuf said was some of the Ghalib had 4 doors. So he told them, when you get to the city, don't go through one door. Why? So the question is, how come he didn't give this advice before? The first time they went, how come he didn't give the advice? Is it because Binyamin is going this time? Mufassirin say no. When they went the first time, they went as travelers. They went as humble travelers, and they went as people that were looking strangers. So nobody took attention of them. They went in Yusuf's palace in the court, and all of a sudden Yusuf showers them with so much hospitality, so much mercy, so much grace, that everybody in the court, all the other VIPs in Yusuf's cabinet, all the other ministers or Jobi, whoever was there, all of a sudden was saying, who are these people? How come Yusuf is giving them exceptional muhabbat and exceptional attention? That's happened, they went home. Now when they come the second time, as soon as they see these people, and the second time they're coming on an invite, because Yusuf invited them. Make sure you bring Binyamin, so it's like a presidential invite. So as soon as they come the second time, all these VIPs that saw Yusuf showing them so much hospitality, they see, hey, ye kaise aa gaye sir? And every person doesn't have a clean heart. So maybe in that VIP circle, there might be other people that might have jealousy. So they'll see these 10 brothers, 11 brothers have come, and they're going to get so much attention again from Yusuf. If jealousy goes into their hearts, then what will happen? They might plot. They might do something to harm these brothers. They might try to fill somebody's ears. So Yaqub said, no, don't go through one door so that everyone catches your eyes. Go through different doors. Don't go so you cause a loud attention. Don't go in discreetly. And other Mufassirin say that no. Yaqub said this for another reason. What was the reason? That Yusuf was beyond limits in beauty. So what are his brothers going to be like? They're not going to be handsome? They're from the same parents. They were also very handsome. All these other 11 brothers were also handsome. Yusuf was beyond the limits. But these were also handsome. And they were all males. And any person that sees them and sees that one father with such 11 handsome children, with all nice build, what happens straight away? They will cast evil gazes. They will cast evil gazes. That's why Rasulullah said that al-ainu haqqun. The evil gaze is haqq. What's the evil gaze? The evil gaze means the evil gaze is a reality. What is it? It is when somebody sees something pleasing to the eyes. When somebody sees something which is exemplary. And when he sees it, he doesn't say Barakallah. He doesn't say MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah. Then there is chances that this gaze will cause harm to the person or the object. That's why sometimes you see, Muhaddithin say, that it can occur from somebody who is jealous, somebody who is envious. In fact, it can even occur from a beloved and a pious person. Even your own parents can give you nazar. And that's why you see so many times that a child is crying all night, he stopped drinking milk, it's not eating properly, it's not digesting food properly. Why? On Friday they wore really nice clothes, and the mom said, "Oh, he looks so cute." The father said, "My son looks so handsome today." He forgot to say Barakallah, he forgot to say MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah. But nazars hit it. When nazar hits it, then harm comes his way. So that's why Hazrat Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas, Hazrat Uthman ibn Abil As radiyallahu anhu, once he saw a boy, Ra'a Sabiyan Malihan, a really handsome little boy. And when he saw this boy, he said, Dassimu nawnatahu kay la tusibu al-ayn. Dassimu, put a black dot on his chin so that the evil gaze doesn't catch him. That's why in India, etc., when you go, sometimes you see that a young boy, a young child, they get meh, antimony, and they put it here, bit of surma or something. Why? So when people see it, then it dispels that. So he's so handsome, but that spot dispels it. So the evil gaze doesn't occur. And in the time of Rasulullah, once Rasulullah was on the way to Makkah, Galiba, and while they were going, they passed a place called Kharra. When they went there, there was water. So Sahabas traveling, you get sweaty, etc. So Sahabas, he said, one Sahabi, Hazrat Sahib ibn Hunayf, he decided to have a shower, a quick ghusl. So in them days, there was no bathrooms. They would go behind a tree, and they'd usually have their lungi on, and they'll just stay at the top of. So he took his top off, and he was about to do ghusl, and another Sahabi by the name of Amr ibn Rabi'a, he saw him. I said, Wallahi, ma ra'aytu kal yawmi ahad. By Allah, I have never seen anybody so handsome. And he went to the stage that he said, your skin is more better. He was so handsome. He had really fair skin, really smooth skin, no crinkles. He is really nicely built. He said, your skin is better than a virgin woman. Because a virgin woman, she's in the house, she's protected. This is the hadith words. أفضل من المقبأ. Your skin is better than a maiden girl. But he said this, فَلُبِتَ. Instantly Sahal ibn Hunayf fell to the ground. Instantly. And some hadithim say he went unconscious. Sahabas ran to Rasulullah. He said, something happened to Sahal ibn Hunayf. La yarfu ra'sahu. He's not even lifting his head up. Meaning he's gone into unconsciousness. So Rasulullah realized this is somebody's al-aynu haq, somebody's nazar. So he said, أَفَلَا تَتَّهِمُونَ? Do you suspect anybody? Do you think somebody's done this? So he said, yes, Amr ibn Rabi'a. Rasulullah called him. And he reproached him. أَلَا مَا تَقْتُلُ أَحَدُكُمْ أَخَاهُ? Why is somebody killing his brother? لِمَاذَا بَرَّقْتَ? Why do you not say Barakallah? Why do you not say MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah? Then he called Amr ibn Rabi'a, and he told him to do ghusl. He told him to do wuzu. He made him wash his hands, and a pot was placed beneath him. He washed his hands, he washed his face, he washed his feet, he washed his knees. All the water was gathered. And he told another Sahabi, go from behind and throw that water on Sahal ibn Hunayf's head, his back, and then throw the pot behind you upside down. He did this, and all of a sudden, Faraha. Sahal ibn Hunayf stood up as though nothing had happened. As though nothing would have happened. That's why Al-Ainu Haqqun. And Yaqub did not want his sons to get this. This is a lesson for us. That we should take all precautionary measures. What happens? A youngster goes to the gym, loses a few pounds, puts on a few packs, takes his picture, puts on his Snap, his Twitter, Jobio. If somebody sees that with an evil eye, then you're going to complain. You're going to start coming to the Amil Saab and the Wali Saab and my son's not sleeping, he's not talking, he's not eating. You're putting your own self into it. You go to eat. You enjoy your food. What's the need to advertise? What's the need to amplify? Before you even eat, it's on Snapchat. Everybody is not your friend in this world. If somebody sees a Snapchat and they cast an evil gaze on it, that food is not going to be beneficial for you, it's going to be harmful. That same food could become a means of constipation for you. So what's our duty? Take precautions. Don't do such things. I mentioned about Hazrat Urwa bin Zubair Ghaliban, that whenever he used to go into his gardens, he used to have orchards in Makkah, he used to have khajur gardens, and he used to have wealth. So whenever he used to see some good wealth, Hisham bin Urwa, whenever he used to see some of his good wealth, or whenever he used to go into his date gardens, khajur gardens, straight away he said, MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah, in tarani aqalla minka mala wa walada, fa asa rabbi yutini khayr min jannatik wa yusri alayhi husbanan fa tusbihu sayyidan sadaqa. He used to pay the whole ayat. That's why for us is, and ulama have said that if you suspect or you know who's in the Nazrani, then you should ask him to do the washing, and that person should happily do it. Because why? Number one, if he has been struck by his gaze, then at least it will go. And if he's not, then at least the waham and the shak will go. And if you don't know who he is, then do as a'udhu bi kalimatillahi tamma min shaytanin wa hama wa ainin lamma. Mufti Saheb has actually gathered a full paper of duas, especially for children, etc. If you ask Mufti Abrar Haq Saheb, he will give it to you. These duas, a'udhu bi kalimatillahi tamma, bismillahi alladhi la yadurru ma ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis samawati. Is mentioned that one tabi mentioned this story. Mentioned this, Bismillah alladhi, whoever he says, Bismillah alladhi la yadurru ma ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis samawati 3 times in the morning, la yadurru shay, nothing will affect him. But the hadith narrator, Ghaliban Abban his name was, he was paralyzed. The tabi that was narrating this hadith, that Bismillah alladhi la yadurru, whoever he says it 3 times in the morning, nothing will inflict him, he was paralyzed. So the person who heard the hadith from Ghaliban, his name was Uthman. So he was a bit shocked. The person that listened from Abban, he's a bit shocked. And Abban heard it from Uthman, and Uthman heard it from Rasulullah. So he goes, why look at me astonished? By Allah, I have not said a lie. By Allah, Uthman hasn't said a lie. By Allah, Rasulullah hasn't said a lie. Do you know why you are astonished? I am narrating the hadith, but you see me paralyzed. Do you know why? Because that was the only morning in my life that I got angry in the morning. And because I got angry, I didn't pray Bismillah alladhi la yadurru. I forgot to pray Bismillah alladhi la yadurru ma ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa fis samawati wa alim, and that's the day I got paralyzed. So don't get astonished. This happened because I forgot it. So anyway, and one very good point to understand, that Ghaliban is going to conclude on this now. Mullah Ali Qari Rahmatullah, a great muhaddith, in his Sharh of Mishkat Sharif, I heard from Mohsin Duhasab, Tama Barakatum is mentioning that he says under this hadith, Al-Ainu Haqqun, that the evil eye is a reality. He says if somebody's evil eye can cause you harm. In fact, some say that some people had such evil eye, meaning their eyes were so powerful that if they look at a camel, the camel will drop. As Abdullah ibn Abbas Ghaliban says, that some people have such powerful eyes, if they look at a mountain, even they can drop the mountain. This is how powerful the eye is. So Mullah Ali Qari writes in his Sharah that if the eye of a noble person can cause you harm, then why can't the eye of a wali change a kafir into a believer and a fasik into a muttaqi? Definitely can change a kafir into a believer and a muttaqi into a fasik into a muttaqi. And Shah Abdul Aziz Rahmatullah Dehlavi, a story about it, a great buzuk, Shah Abdul Aziz Dehlavi, Shah Walid Dehlavi Rahmatullah, his son. It's mentioned that he used to give dars in the masjid or in a classroom, and whilst he used to give dars, a padri, a Brahman, a Hindu scholar used to sit in his lesson. So he used to look after him and he never used to rebuke him, kuch nahi kehte. He used to let him sit in the class, kaise ho mizaj achhe the, talk to him nicely. When Hazrat Shah Abdul Aziz Saheb Rahmatullah was about to pass away, Ghaliban, he called his brother, his son, Shah Ishaq Saheb, and he said to him, that when you carry on giving the dars, make sure you don't, isko but karna. Don't say anything to him. Don't rebuke him. Unko aane dena, unko baithne dena. It's mentioned that he used to carry on coming to the lesson. 3 days before he passed away, that Brahman, he accepted Islam. 3 days before he passed away, he accepted Islam. And I remember once somebody mentioning a story, a first son from the person, that in the old days, he was in Leicester. And he was a Jalal time, youngsters going out, Jobio. Mawlana Masjid Khan Sahib Rahmatullah came to Leicester. And there was a Masturat Bayan in Leicester. Masjid Khan Sahib's men. So the person's mother told him that if you don't come to Bayan, at least come and look at this Masrur. He says that I came in Hazrat Masjid Khan Sahib's Bayan. I looked at him and that's my life changed. A wali can change, his gazes can change the life of a fasik or a kafir. What do we have to do? We have to adopt their company. That's when you'll get your dua. That's when you get what you want. That's why under the tafsir of Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana, Allama Alusi says, atina fid dunya hasana, give us goodness in this world. What is it? He says, goodness in this world, one meaning is sohbat salih, the company of the pious people. And he says, why should you go in the company of the pious people? Not because your business is gone low, so child, I'll go to sit by a buzu, my business will shoot up. I don't have a job, if I sit by the buzu, I'll get a job. My children become rebels, so if I go, they'll become walis. Go with the niyat, litakuna mithlahum, that I want to become like a wali as well. Alhamdulillah, we see there's walis everywhere, there's friends of Allah everywhere, there's good company everywhere. So wherever you find this, sit in that company, inshallah, will be very beneficial for you. And inshallah, we'll carry on next week. And the story of Yusuf, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the correct understanding, ability to act upon what's been mentioned, what's been heard. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka.